Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dejay. I am one of the coordinators for student organizations.
And my name is Alejandra. I am the GA under Dejay for student organizations.
We are super excited that you are able to join us to learn more about being an advisor, kind of what our orgs will be going through as registration just opened yesterday, and different events that they can plan as well. So I will let Alejandra take it away.
Yes, awesome. Hello and welcome, guys. We are going to go over a few things today. So on the next slide here, during our time today, we will cover some org basics such as the organization requirements, officer eligibility, a quick OrgSync tutorial. Then we'll go over some registration, including the privileges of being a registered student org, the submitting a profile on OrgSync, and all that fun stuff. We'll also go over some resources that are available for student organizations, policies and procedures, space reservation and event planning, finances, and specifically for you guys, some student org advisors specifics. So we'll go ahead and get started with the basics. So for org requirements, organizations must register every long semester, so that's the fall and spring. It is a two-step process where an org must submit their updated OrgSync profile each semester and have an officer who is listed in their OrgSync profile attend orientation once per school year to receive credit for orientation. As far as officers and advisors go, each organization does need at least 2 officers to exist, but the full number by your constitution should be shared in the OrgSync as well. When you submit your registration profile, all the other officers must be submitted as well, along with 8 of the members that you do need to maintain being a registered student organization. Now, there is a possible exemption for those 8 members. We have some student orgs that are exempt from that, but for the most part, each organization does need at least 8 members, and they also need a full-time faculty staff advisor, which is all of you. And then on the next slide, so officer eligibility, like I said, the organization does need officers in order to be a registered student organization, and those officers do need to be eligible to keep their position. So it's important that all officers are aware of the eligibility requirements. So for GPA, they must have a 2.4 UNT cumulative GPA. This does not include any transfer credit, only all hours taken on UNT classes. As far as enrollment goes, for undergrads or post-bachelor students, they must be enrolled in a minimum of 6 hours. For grad students, they must be enrolled in a minimum of 5 hours or 3 hours of dissertation or thesis. The officers also need to be in good disciplinary standing with the Dean of Students in order to keep their position as an officer. And then we also have an eligibility appeals committee. So every few weeks, emails about eligibility are sent out directly to the ineligible officer and their advisor. This letter gives directions in regards to the GPA and enrollment appeal process. So this happens if one of your officers does not meet one of the requirements that are previously mentioned. So we understand that there are some extenuating circumstances that may have led to an ineligible status. So within 7 business days of being notified, an officer may submit a written appeal via the Student Org Officer Eligibility Appeal Form in OrgSync. So it's very important for an officer to check their email that they submitted via the org's registration, because they only receive 7 days to appeal if they were not approved or if they do not meet the officer eligibility criteria. So officers may only receive an appeal for the current semester and only once within 2 consecutive long semesters. For example, if an appeal is granted in the fall, an appeal cannot be granted in the spring. If one is received in the spring, an appeal cannot be received in the fall. So if you know now that you are ineligible, or if you know that one of your officers are ineligible, appeal in advance of notice once the appeal form is available. The disciplinary student standing through the Dean of Students is not appealable through the org officer process, but may ask the Dean of Students office to review status of sanctions. So to kind of explain a little further to you guys, I will go ahead and show you OrgSync. I'll do a quick little OrgSync tutorial so that you guys can see everything that I'm mentioning a little bit about and everything we will mention during this presentation. So here is our OrgSync. Now it does say Campus Labs here at the top. So to find this, you can just go to studentaffairs.unt.edu/orgsync, and it'll take you to this page here. And you can just scroll down and log into your OrgSync, and that'll take you right over here. So this is our homepage for OrgSync. This page is available for all students to view. So it has some great nifty little things for all of our students and for you all to view. So right here you see the student organization registration, which we did mention for our active student orgs did open. It opened yesterday, so they can go ahead and get started on re-registering. There's also some quick OrgSync tips, and if you need more tips or tutorials on this page right over here that this link takes you to, we do have some more in-depth tutorials to kind of help you along navigating through OrgSync. We also have Mean Green Fling signups that they can sign up with this link right over here. Now, if you scroll down more, you will see all the memberships that you are part of. So for you all, your organization that you advise is going to be listed right in here. And then if you scroll down some more, you can see all of the events that are happening. Currently, all of the events are through our office student activities are going to be the only events that you see right here. And then if you scroll down some more, you can see some latest news articles. And if your org puts in a news article, this is where they would find those. So if we scroll up some more and we go to the different tabs here, you can see that it's breaking those down a little bit more. So right here we have the events, and you can just see all of the events that are happening, and even search specific events or search specific dates that those events are happening. You can also search by themes and categories, and we are working on adding more themes and more categories to make it easier for everyone to find and kind of navigate through OrgSync. If you go to the Organizations tab here, you can see all of our lovely registered student orgs. So that is a benefit of being a registered student organization, is being able to have your organization right here for all students to view. And we are working on updating categories to make it easier for students to kind of search through those organizations and see which ones they want to join or which ones they're looking for. Right here we have those news articles that we saw at the bottom of the home page. Again, just to make it easier for you guys to search through, find any news articles that you're looking for. Any updates would be in here as well. And then right here on this Forms tab, this is where you're going to see all of the forms that we do mention today. They are going to be listed in here. You can search through available forms to make it easier for you guys. And our most used forms, the ones that are probably going to be used by most of our student organizations pretty frequently, are starred right here for convenience. So that is that. And now if you go over to your initial right here in the right hand corner, you will see your user drawer. You can click on your account. And on this page right here, you can change any personal information, any contact info that you might need to. So you can change your preferred email address. If there's an email address you would prefer all of your OrgSync notifications to go to, you can just change it right here. If you would like to add a profile picture, you're more than free to do that as well. Also, since you are an advisor for a student organization, you will see that when you click on this Switch Views tab, you can click Manage right here, and it'll take you to your Action Center. And again, you will see your student org that you advise right down here in your memberships. You can click on that, and it'll take you to this page right here. And in this left-hand side, you'll see what we like to call a hamburger. And if you click on that, you can update any of your org's information. This is also where the presidents or officers will update their information as well for the organizations. Now, what you will not see in my screen, but you will see when you log into your OrgSync is an elections button. Now, this is a super cool feature that you can do any officer elections on OrgSync anonymously. That way you don't have to be doing elections through paper, which will be definitely convenient for the times that we're going through now. And that is pretty much it. Dejay, did I miss anything going through the OrgSync?
No, you did great. So we do have a question in the chat. Douglas May wrote, could you explain the email request? So are you referring to changing your preferred email address or Eagle Mail request? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, there was a button that said Eagle Mail request, but I'm not sure what it does.
Yeah, definitely. So Eagle Mail Requests is one of the privileges of being a registered student org. So Alejandro, if you want to go back to the Explore page and then go on forms. So Eagle Mail Request is a email listserv that can be blasted out to all of our students. So as long as you are a registered student organization, if you have an upcoming event that is open to the public, you can advertise that event. You can't use it as a way to recruit members for an event, because I know a lot of organizations do try to do that as far as trying to like recruit, but this is not meant to be a recruiting thing because we don't want to continuously spam student email addresses. But you can advertise events that are open to the public. And one of the things that you can do is if you submit an event application, you'll have to submit an event application, and through the, as long as you've submitted the event application and it has been approved by our office, you can then advertise your upcoming event to the student body. Does anyone have any other questions regarding OrgSync or any forms that we may have mentioned?
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you can also view any submissions that your organization has made. So like Dejay said, those event applications, you can view those right here in your submissions and click edit on them right over here and view those lovely submissions. And that is it for a quick OrgSync tutorial. Like I said, if you guys do need any more assistance or need any more in-depth tutorials, this link right over here that is on the home page of the OrgSync for quick tips. This page will give you some more in-depth, really some more information on how to navigate every little part of OrgSync. Or you can just email our office and we can help you out navigating that as well.
Okay, let's hop back into the PowerPoint presentation. So registration. Registration is a big topic because one, it just opened, and we're doing registration a little bit differently than what we have had done before. Typically, organizations are required to attend orientation in person, but because of the nature of society, we're currently doing it all virtual. And so with registration, student orgs are required to fill out that registration form. Every student org should have the ability to register through the registration form. One thing to note about the registration form is that whoever submits that registration will be the person who gets any updates. So let's say if our office denies the registration because they didn't include their advisor information, or they didn't include, they need to update update their constitution and bylaws, we will deny their profile, and the person who submitted it will receive that notification. So it won't necessarily be the president, it won't be the advisor. It will be let's say the secretary submits it. The secretary will be the person that gets the notification from our office. And that's just the way that kind of OrgSync navigates. Whoever submits it is the person who receives the notification. So some of the privileges for being a registered student organization, we don't charge student organizations for reserving spaces on campus. This will change a little bit this semester. So right now, no organizations will be able to host events on campus, as far as we know, for August and for September. I'm not too sure about October. I know Dr. With and her Student Life Advisory Council is currently reviewing our student org plan, and they're meeting with other institutions around the state of Texas to come up with a very successful and safe plan for our student organizations to meet once things are a little bit safer. Some other things that are a privilege to student organizations is they can participate in Mean Green Fling. So Mean Green Fling is typically our fall organizational fair. We also have sponsors, off-campus sponsors and vendors come out as well. And we're doing it virtually this year. It's going to be hosted on Flipgrid. So on Flipgrid, it's an app where students can upload a 30-second video just telling us about their organization, how they can get connected, how prospective students can get connected, and they'll be able to interact with the organization. It should be open for about 2 weeks, so it'll officially start next week. If your organization is interested in participating, they've extended the deadline. So originally it was due yesterday, well, on Sunday, but now is due tomorrow at noon. So make sure that that your organization is signed up for Mean Green Fling in order to participate and kind of recruit new members. They can participate also in new student orientation. So we do have a partnership with OTP orientation where we have a virtual org fair. This summer we did a virtual org fair via our YouTube channel, and students were able to submit a 30-second video about their organization, and our incoming students were directed to that YouTube channel. Other abilities for being a student org is you'll be able to be viewed in our student org database. You'll also be able to advertise on campus using the UNT branding, as long as it's within scope of university policy, and just making sure that they'll send that to university marketing. So at brand review at unt.edu, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but they do have the ability to use UNT branding. We'll also go into privileges. So eligibility for Eagles Nest funding, as well as Route Travel Grant, which is free money through our Student Government Association. So going into submitting your OrgSync profile. So making sure that your roster is currently up to date. As an advisor, you should have access to your roster to see who is the primary contact. I know some organizations transition later than others. Some student orgs have submitted their updates forms during the summer so that we could update them. So if your organization does not have the proper primary contact, please let us know so that we can make sure the right person is registering your organization. A part of registration is you have to have at least 8 active members. They must include their UNT advisor's name, department, phone number, and email. They must also have an updated copy of their constitution and bylaws with the required clauses. So some of those clauses are making sure that your officers have the UNT cumulative GPA of a 2.4, that they're not hazing, that they're not discriminating against anyone, and that they're staying within university policy as well as state policies as well. And if you have any new elections for organizations who either have an officer that can no longer be an officer, we do have an update form that will come right after registration. So if your organization has been approved, they can just submit this fall 2020 student org update form, which will be located in OrgSync as well. I do have a question. What about new groups? So new group registration, that will actually open September 7th. So when a new group comes, they will have to attend orientation. They'll meet with either myself or my other co-coordinator, Asia Claiborne, and we'll talk about their organization, making sure that they're set up for success, and then they'll go through the same process as current student organization. So attending orientation, completing registration, and meeting with someone from our office to make sure that they are set for recruiting in fall. Am I registered? So that's one of our big questions is, how do I know that I'm registered? So the person who submits the registration form will be the person that receives the notification that their organization has been approved. And so once you have been approved, you can then start functioning as an organization, hosting virtual events, submitting event applications as well through OrgSync. And one of the new updates with OrgSync now is that students can put their URL link in the location form. So if I'm a student organization and I want to have a virtual event, I can put my URL link and that will show on the home page or the Explore page for our student organizations. We do have an opportunity for your organizations to win free money and have a co-sponsorship with our office. So if they attend orientation and register by the 24th, which is right before classes start, or by September 31st, which is the end of our deadline, they have an opportunity to win free money. And so they can use that to host different events on campus once they are able to program, or if they want to buy any type of tabling material, they can do so as well. Do students have access to unlimited Zoom accounts, or do they need advisors to set it up? So from my knowledge, as long as they are a UNT student, they should be able to access their Zoom accounts and set unlimited number of meetings. I know I've had some advisors where they've created a Canvas for their organization, and they've had held meetings, they've built in Zoom within their Canvas, which is also another option as well. But as an advisor, you don't have to set up those meetings. The students should have access to create meetings via Zoom. I think they would just need to go to unt.zoom.us, and then they'll do the authentication process, which is their EUID and password. So some resources. So right outside of our office, we have our student organization workspace. And this workspace is open to all students. So it's first come, first serve. It's not reservable. And students can use this for impromptu meetings. They can use this to meet really quick if they want to talk about just quick topics as well. And then they're also able to use this after hours and on the weekend use. So the way that they'll be able to use it after hours or on the weekend is they would have to go down to the second floor, go to the front desk, and they will, your student will give them their name and the organization that they are part of. And as long as they are listed on the roster, they will have access to get into that student org space, which is on the third floor. Another opportunity for organizations that they really don't take advantage of is lockers. So we know that a lot of our organizations are programming on campus, they are tabling and just doing some really great things. So we have two sizes for lockers. They're located right outside of student activities. We have a full-size locker, and then we have a half-size locker. And these lockers are assigned at the beginning of the school year typically. Your student organization would just have to make sure that they are registered, and then they'll apply on OrgSync through our student org locker form. If your organization maybe won an Eagle Award or Student Org of the Month last year, they automatically get priority over lockers for our office. So Student Org of the Month. So Student Org of the Month, we have so many organizations here at UNT. We have about 470. I'm hoping that we reach 500 by the end of this semester, hopefully. But we want to highlight all of our student orgs. So we do have an opportunity to highlight your organization. What they would do is they would apply on OrgSync. The deadline is the 15th of every month. So the first one will be this September. The winners will receive a co-sponsorship, and they'll be recognized on our social media platforms as well. And the funds must be used within 1 month. So a lot of the organizations either buy pens or swag items, they buy possibly t-shirts as well. or tablecloth. So it really just depends on the organization and how they would like to use their money for Student Org of the Month. Some other resources, so within Student Activities, we have our Student Org Chronicle, which is sent out by Asia Claiborne, my co-coordinator. That is sent on a bi-weekly basis. We have sold workshops, so whether you have treasurers or you want to know how to advertise or best market your organization, last year we partnered with DesignWorks, and we had a really great presentation, and they were able to create marketing packages just specifically for our student organization. So be sure that your student organization officers are checking out those emails and reading it in its entirety. Mean Green Fling. So Mean Green Fling happens in fall semester, but then we also have Mean Green Spring Fling, which happens in the spring semester. Don't really know too much details of whether or not that will be held in person. Hopefully it'll be held in person for next year so that students get that full experience and are able to recruit for their organization. Involvement fairs. So we know that involvement fairs are really important when it comes to the recruitment of a student organization. Within OrgSync, student orgs will be able to do virtual org fairs. So we're planning a few virtual org fairs this upcoming semester that will be able to send out information within the next coming weeks. But pretty much it's kind of like a Zoom chat where the student organization will sign up, and then we'll create the event for them, and they'll be able to speak to prospective members in real time. So they'll kind of go into like breakout rooms essentially and be able to just find out more information about your organization. Other things that we have going on, Featured Friday. So we do like to highlight our student organizations as well. You can have your organization submit a Featured Friday post through our OrgSync form. CEO Prep. CEO Prep is a 6-week course that builds on leadership skills. So it's a really great opportunity. They have different workshop sessions that are with different offices. So they'll learn how to, dinner etiquette, email etiquette, have interview sessions with the Career Center as well. So it's a really great opportunity, typically geared towards our seniors and our juniors, because we want to make sure that they are successful after college as well. And so being in these leadership in this leadership workshop and being able to hone in on really those skills in order to prepare for life after college. Eagle Awards. Eagle Awards is our student org award ceremony held in April. We like to acknowledge all of our student organizations, so applications for that will usually go out in the beginning of the spring semester. We also like to highlight our neighbors as well. So the Center for Leadership and Service, they really have great opportunities geared towards our officers. One of them is All for NT, NT for All, which is a one-day leadership conference. This year they are planning to host it virtually, so make sure that you're following them on social media so that your officers can participate. And then leadership lunches. So once a month we partner with CLS to talk about different leadership topics, just to give them more information and find other opportunities for them to connect with students. So policies and procedures. So policies and procedures, posters and flyers. So we know a lot of organizations are posting flyers, but we have to make sure that they're posting them in the right places. So making sure that your organization is posting them on open bulletin boards and not enclosed bulletin boards. Usually if you're posting any flyers, they can't be left on the tables throughout the union. They have to typically be open and available. Lawn signs, student orgs can print out lawn signs as well through DesignWorks, as well as they can post for free in the union. So those union signs, those digital screens, they are able to market their upcoming events as well. So making sure that they take advantage of those opportunities, because all of our departments have to pay in order for those digital screens for advertising. So making sure that they take advantage of that. Chalking is not allowed on our campus or taping. So no matter how great of a drawer you are, you can't chalk on our campus by university policy. If you want to use the UNT logo, making sure that it is approved. So what you'll do is you'll send it to this email, brandreview@UNT, in order to get approval. They typically respond back within 20 to 48 hours of sending your email. Solicitation. So solicitation, is a way for members to recruit, either by requesting donations or advertising for different events. This form is through the union scheduling services. So this semester it will be different because we aren't allowing any student organizations to solicit at this moment. So there won't be any tabling, just because we are trying to slow down the curve and minimize student interaction as much as possible. But hopefully it'll come back next semester. Fundraising. So raffles are actually illegal in the state of Texas. So if your organization is planning to raise money anyway, please let's talk about it offline so that we can make sure that your organization is abiding by state policies. Homemade good bake sales are not allowed at all. And this is just from a liability standpoint. We would want to make sure that your organization is not cooking anything, because if so, then you could possibly be sued for any products that you do give out. So we always tell students, if they are trying to do some type of fundraiser, to make sure that it's pre-packaged as well. So free speech. So free speech policy is overseen by the Dean of Students. So students can participate in active expressive activity on free speech. So we typically tell students to reserve that space, just because if we have a lot of students who want to promote and do a free speech or public assembly, we want to know exactly who's on property so that we can know, we can alert the Dean of Students as well as the police department as well, especially when there is amplified sound, which is, there is a designated time for amplified sound. Also with using large structures or having any type of march or rally as well. With free speech policy, I know that there are going to be some COVID updates that will happen, and I think that the Dean of Students is working on that communication as well. So event planning. So student organizations must submit an event application through OrgSync. So once they've registered, they've attended our orientation, and they've been approved, they can submit their event. So they can go ahead and put in their link, their Zoom link or Google Hangout link into the location bar. And then once they have submitted it, the president and the advisor needs to approve the form. So we won't move forward with the form unless the advisor and the president moves forward with that. And that's just to make sure that y'all as advisors know exactly what's happening with your organization and knowing what kind of events are happening. So with the event application, I know a lot of our orgs have been inquiring about off-campus events as well. At this time, we're encouraging no students to meet off campus. And this is just from a safety measure as well, because we don't want you to meet up and possibly infect someone with the virus as well. So right now, no off-campus or on-campus events are going to be allowed until further notice. And then once you, so is that only for virtual events? So for the event application, if you're planning to host any type of events, once we do get the approval for that students can have on-campus events, it will probably be very limited with CDC guidelines as well. They would submit through the event application form. So any events that you plan on having, whether it be in person or virtual, should be submitted through the events application. But for right now, we're only reviewing virtual events because in-person events are not approved. And that's from a university standpoint. Did that answer your question, Douglas May?
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious why you need approval for a virtual event if it's done on campus.
Yes. So we tell students to submit event applications because that's one way to advertise. So we are recommending that all of our new students, get very acclimated with OrgSync as well. And so with OrgSync, that is one of the first things that they show. So during at the beginning of the presentation, Alejandra showed the OrgSync portal, and it showed all of the approved events for that are currently happening. And so that's one way for you to recruit students, is by showing them, by submitting that event application and making sure that you're getting not only current members, but also prospective members. Also, because you are... Mhm.
Can I ask you this? So if I'm in the art department and I'm primarily recruiting from the art department, is it a requirement that um, uh, for to be inclusive of the entire student body, or can I limit my recruiting only to my discipline?
We encourage for you to be open to allowing everybody. I know some organizations have very strict requirements. So if you want, maybe you and I can speak offline and talk a little bit more about your organization and only recruiting specific ones, because I'll have to review that. But usually we tell organizations that they have to be open to everyone. The only organizations that aren't able to do so are those who are in the fraternity and sorority life category or branch.
Okay, let's talk.
Alrighty, so finances. How many of your organizations have bank accounts on campus? I know there are a few that have them on campus, so we'll go briefly into it. Not yet. Okay, awesome. So we do have a a bank on campus, Wells Fargo. So if an organization would like to open up a bank account, they'll need to apply. If they're a new account, they'll have to apply with a federal tax ID through the IRS, and then from there they'll be able to create that bank account with the Wells Fargo bank on campus. One thing to note is that with the federal tax ID, you would have to include, it would have to be attached to a social security number. And so we always preface that by making sure that if that's okay with your organization, that you make sure that everything is up to date and that information is transferred once that student graduates. We typically say that the president, the treasurer, or the financial officer and the advisor are on the bank account. And this is from a standpoint of making sure there's not a misuse of funds, because we know that sometimes if there's one person overseeing an account, that they could possibly be misusing and stealing from the account as well. If your current organization already has an existing bank account, making sure that the people who are listed on that bank account are up to date. And how you can update that information is through OrgSync. So the person who submits it will have to have the former person. So if it's a former president that's on it and they've already graduated, they would have to make sure that that person is on it, and then they'll have to submit that, and then they'll have to have the president and advisor also on it as well. And then Student Activities will email you a PDF letter so that you can take it directly to Wells Fargo to update your status for nonprofit status. So that's actually on my next page. So taxes and exemptions. So there's two types of taxes. We have state and federal. We also have tax exempt as well. So if an organization is tax exempt, usually we have our organizations who are affiliated with a national organization. I would check in with them to see the national organization or the state affiliate to make sure that you are tax exempt. I know a lot of students, because we are in education, certain schools are able to have the tax exemption status. Unfortunately, Student Activities is not able to give that to you, but if you want to fundraise, we'll write a letter on behalf of the organization, and you would just submit that to OrgSync. So we have another question. Can there be an off-campus bank? Yes, you can choose to bank with off-campus if you want to bank at Bank of America or possibly a credit union. That is up to the organization's discretion. We always try to encourage Wells Fargo just in case if anything were to happen, the university is involved and our office is involved, and we're able to support you from that standpoint. But with an off-campus bank account, you can do that as well if your organization prefers that method. So Eagles Nest funding. There are two ways for your organization to receive money on campus. So Eagles Nest is one of them. What you would do is if your organization is having an event on campus, or maybe they're doing a service project, they would submit an event application. They would have to attend an SGA resource meeting, complete the Eagles Nest application, and then they'll present in front of the Eagles Nest committee. We are currently working with SGA to convert that to COVID standards, so for a virtual event. So hopefully within the next coming weeks, we'll be able to provide some literature for our organizations that will be sent up via the Chronicle the Student Org Chronicle that your organization receives biweekly. Route travel grant. So right now we're not doing any travel off campus just to slow down the curve. But in a normal world, we would have the route travel grant. And this pretty much assists our student organizations with traveling either to a conference or maybe a competition. And it's the similar steps where you have to attend an SGA resource meeting, complete a route application as well, and then you'll present in front of the committee. So the difference between Eagle's Nest funding and route travel grant is with the Eagle's Nest funding, it's for events or services or projects that are open to the whole campus, and we pay for those materials up front. Whereas route travel grant, we would have you pay for them up front, and then we'll reimburse you. So it's a reimbursement program. But we know that sometimes organizations don't have $300 laying around for conference fees, which is perfectly okay. But students can get a loan through the Student Money Management Center as well. And then there's no interest on those loans either. So if you're interested in traveling when we are allowed to travel, this is a great opportunity for our student organizations.
Now moving on to more specifics for you all. We're going to go over the benefits of being a student org advisor, the requirements, and the responsibilities that come with it. So first, the requirements of being an advisor. So you must be a full-time UNT faculty or staff member. You must be at least 22 years of age and not pursuing an undergraduate degree at UNT. You must participate in the risk management program in your first year of advising, and you are encouraged to attend annually with the required representatives of your student organization. You also must participate in annual clarity training provided by UNT annually and understand the obligation to report crimes as outlined by the Clery Act. Now on the next slide, your responsibility to the individual group members of your student organization. So you are there to help the students find a balance between their academic pursuits and their co-curricular activities. You're also there to encourage individuals to participate in and plan organization events, encourage students to accept responsibility for specific roles within the group, and provide encouragement and guidance through a wide range of situations. So you really want to encourage these things, especially planning organization events, by making sure your officers or members are filling out the event application forms, because like we said, they are able to go on to our OrgSync and be promoted that way for any new students to find your organizations and get involved with your organizations. So it's really important that we do have our organizations filling out those event application forms, even with virtual events, just so that new students can still see that organizations are going through the semester with events still going on, even online in this virtual format. So on the next slide, responsibility to the student organization. So with continuity, be familiar with the student organization, its history, and its constitution. You want to be able to answer any questions to new students, incoming students, or your current students in your organization about the history of your organization. So get familiar with that, what the student organization does, what it's about, the mission, and the constitution. You also want to provide stability for organizations so that the records are not lost during the constant transition of officers. So a lot of times when the transition of officers comes up towards the end of the semester, some records, some documents might be lost in the process. So you're there to really aid in that process and help those new officers transition into their positions with the old officers. And you're there to assist students with information regarding events, processes, etc., that have worked in the past and may be applicable to future group endeavors. So again, just really there for that transition period so that the new officers aren't going in there blindsided, and your old officers can really transition out of there with a good leave off for the new officers. For the next one, fiscal oversight. So you really want to assist students with the opening and maintenance of financial accounts, like today talked about those Wells Fargo checking accounts, or if you would prefer off-campus bank accounts. And then while each registered student organization should elect a treasurer, the advisor can provide the guidance and training regarding how to create a budget and keep good financial records. As you guys all know, you're still working with college students who are still learning. We're even learning ourselves as we go on through the years. So you really want to be there for that fiscal oversight because those things can get a little trickier once you start getting into the money situation of it all. And then the next one, you also want to be there to provide guidance and support. So help your students develop realistic goals, strategic planning, and training for the academic year. Be aware of plans and programs that the organization has planned and inform them of the institutional policies. So especially when they're filling out those event applications and we ask you guys to approve them prior to us getting those. So it goes through a process of approval. The president and yourself have to approve before it gets sent over to us before we can approve those. And that's really because we want to make sure that you guys are involved in that event planning by making sure the organizations are following institutional policies with all of the events that they're holding. Also, be available to regularly meet with organization officers and some members and offer any ideas for projects or programs that you have, especially during this time that students might not know how to continue on virtually. You can be there as a support system to give them some ideas for projects and programs virtually speaking. The next one, you do have a responsibility to, again, the organization and institution. So for meetings and social activities, you are encouraged to participate in the meetings and activities of your student organization, and some organizations even create their own requirements for the advisor involvement. Be sure to communicate with students regarding your availability and willingness to participate. So you want to be sure up front to give them a good schedule for yourself, give them the best line of communication for you that will help really alleviate the process of getting in contact with you. And it's important that students feel worthy of your time, as this helps establish mentoring relationships that many students greatly desire in those extracurricular activities. And as far as the responsibility to UNT, you can provide a unique perspective to students regarding the policies and procedures that they might not know a lot about, but you can give them some more insight. You can also serve as an advocate for students who do not feel their needs are being met or who need assistance interpreting these policies. And you can also provide critical feedback to student affairs regarding ways to improve the student experience, or even reach out to us to figure out ways to improve the student experience as well. For advisor approvals, so anytime the student org updates any information or submits an event application, a checking account verification request form, or an Eagle mail request, your approval is required. So the most common approvals are event application approvals. So this is any event, tablings, meetings, formals, etc., that your organization would like to host. And they will need to be submitted again online through OrgSync. And you will have to go through and approve those as well as the president before we can even go through and approve any of that. So these are your most common approvals that you'll need. Again, are those three: Eagle mail request, event application is going to be probably the most popular one for you guys, and then the checking account verification request form. And all of those forms can be found on OrgSync in that Forms tab that you guys saw earlier. So what are the benefits of being an advisor? Why do you guys do this? Well, it provides a personal and professional development for you all. It also provides a unique mentoring experience and opportunity to get to know and work with students outside of the classroom or office. You get the reward of watching an organization develop and grow to its fullest potential, especially sticking around and being an advisor for multiple years for the same organization. You help students mature and develop their individual skills and become stronger student leaders, which we always need more of at UNT, is strong student leaders. We love having them. Making a difference in the UNT community and individual student lives. It's also an informal opportunity to share your knowledge and expertise on relevant topics, especially if you're involved in organizations that maybe you were a part of when you had your college experience, or organizations that you really just love what they're doing. You can give them your knowledge and expertise on relevant topics. It's also the chance to assist the university with student retention and exposure to the evolution of today's students' thought processes. So I know for myself, I just graduated from UNT, and I was involved in many student organizations, and the advisors really did make a difference in all of our student experiences. You really get connected to those advisors and really get that mentoring experience from them, and that makes your college experience that much more worthwhile. So you guys are definitely important in every students' lives that are in your organization. You also get the opportunity to attend the advisor reception. So like myself, like the students, we also want to thank you guys for doing what you do and being advisors. So every April, Student Activities host an advisor reception to thank student org advisors for your hard work and dedication over the last year with your org. For this year, it might look a little different, but we're going to figure out a way to keep pushing forward, just like with everything else. Lastly, advisor workshops. So throughout the academic year, Student Activities provides workshops and training for all student org advisors on a variety of topics. So here are some of our past advisor workshops: Advising 101, Event Planning and Event Safety, Organization Overview, and OrgSync. Like I said, sometimes can be a little difficult to navigate, so maybe you need some more tutorials on that. And then also our risk management, which again, all first year advisors do have to attend. And if you're, well, you all are advisors, and if you have any topics that you would like to see covered, you can always contact us, and we'll also have a Qualtrics available soon for you guys to fill out some ideas that you guys might have on workshops. We really want to work on getting you guys more involved and having more contact with us, so that we can give you every piece of information you need and help the student orgs during this process and during this time of the school year. And that's a wrap for all of our presentation today. So remember to be there to help your orgs and members during this time. Again, like I said, it's really different. It's a different school year. It looks a lot different. So make sure you're there for them, and they're filling out all their forms on OrgSync. Follow us on social media, and also go through the OrgSync to see any updates on the news articles or any updates we have for you guys about events or so forth. And look out for upcoming events, deadlines, and reminders.
Thank you so much for attending our Advisor 101 workshop. We really do appreciate all the work that advisors do. We wouldn't have student orgs without the advisors. So you are an essential piece to us functioning, for us having student orgs that are doing just really great things within our community and providing different outlets for them outside of academia. So thank you. At this time, our presentation is ending. Alejandra and I will stick around for questions. If you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself or place them in the chat.